Can I follow Jesus and still struggle with believing? I recently put out a video that talked about this, and it talked about scripture and what Jesus did with the apostles, and just got a ton of feedback. And then I started realizing, I guess there are not a lot of churches where you can struggle in your faith and still be a part of the church, struggle in your faith and still be welcomed. At Catalyst Church is one of the places we try to leave room for it, because it seems like Jesus left room for it. Maybe he almost tried creating it sometimes. So can I struggle with belief and still follow Jesus? Let's look at scripture. It doesn't matter what you think or what I think. Let's look at what scripture has to say. And in Mark chapter 9, there's this story where the apostles went out and Jesus had given them the authority to heal people and to cast out demons. And then they come back to Jesus, and they come back with this father and this son. And this son has been possessed by an impure spirit. And they say, Jesus, we did all that we could, but we could not cast this one out. Like they could cast all the rest of them, but they have run into a type of demon that they could not cast out. And Jesus says, you have this unbelieving generation. I'm so tired of this unbelieving generation. And he's just sort of frustrated. Now later on, he says, everything is possible for somebody who believes. So when you start seeing a word repeated, that's the important word there. So we've got to understand the word believe. Now, in our understanding, in our culture, in today's society, believing is nothing more than an intellectual understanding of something. It's buying into something. Now, for the Greek, the pistis, and how the word is actually translated, it does believe the intellectual understanding. But it has to happen so powerfully that you are moved to action. If you have not changed something about your life, something about how you're living, you do not actually believe something. So when Jesus says, oh, you unbelieving generation, he's saying you're not connecting what you believe with how you are living. And it's driving him sort of crazy, because what we think should work into how we live. It's sort of what's going on in our culture today still. We believe a certain thing, but not enough to actually take action. The Greeks would say that you actually didn't believe that. But he says everything is possible for those who believe. Now, some people will lean to one side and say, well, I just believe. The intellectual understanding. And because I have this understanding, because I have this faith, because I have this belief, I can win the lottery tonight. I can go ahead and I can be the next person into space, and I can be the next billionaire, and I can be the... But that doesn't ever really happen. Why? Is it because God is a liar? It's because he doesn't keep up with what he says? No, it's because we miss what he says. He's saying your intellect, what you think, what you are passionate about has to work into how you are living your life. And if it doesn't, you're going to miss out on a ton of blessings. So this man comes there, and his son has been constantly thrown into a fire and been thrown down, and he is again. And Jesus says, everything is possible for somebody who believes. And the father looks at Jesus and he says, I believe, but help me with my unbelief. Have you ever felt like that before? I know I believe, but I'm not living it out. I'm not taking the right actions. Even sometimes I let myself go to places in my head that I know that I shouldn't go. So what does Jesus do? What does Jesus do with this father who believes, but help me with my unbelief? Does he walk away from him? Does he not bless him? No, Jesus understands, and he heals his son. And he goes on from there, and he tells the apostles this is something that need to be prayed about. It's not just something you can lay hands on, so that's fine. But the fact that Jesus still heals his son tells me that Jesus is fine with people who struggle in their faith. People who struggle in believing, maybe even believing in Jesus or believing in God from time to time. But they're willing to put in action to figure it out. If you're at a place to where you can't grow your faith, that you can never have bad days, that your unbelief, that your lack of faith on some days disqualifies you from some place that you're serving, you need to take a look into where you are. At Catalyst Church, if you are looking for a place to where you can work through your faith, that you can have the good days and you can have the bad days, I would say come see us. If you're in Greensboro, North Carolina, we'd love to have you join us at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. You come, you try to figure out your faith. We'll leave some room for the I believe, but help my unbelief. You come see us. We'll see what God does with you, and I'll save you a seat.